Hello, it is I, once again, the Bruce Wayne of Azure Lane, back at it again for yet another Azure Lane update on an event, and I love this event so far, even though we haven't got it yet. Okay, so I repeatedly was talking about this on my last couple streams. Eagle Union has no good Vanguard damage dealers, and this event is going to basically take that problem and punch it in the nuts. So at least that's what it looks like. We'll see. But I mean, I'm excited. So the very first ship, and let's just get this out of the way. The champion crown jewel of this event is USS Guam. She is an Alaska class ship. And I was like, dang, I was really hoping we would get a large cruiser or some sort of excellent main tank that also deals damage. And it looks like this is exactly what we're getting. So also, I like the design. You know what I think about it? The pigtails kind of remind me in a way of Anchorage, the pigtails and the hair color. But the rest of her, it looks like, you know, you took the pen pineapple apple pen guy and he just grabbed Sandy and Anchorage and slapped them together, and then now we have and added some dishwasher, by the way, y'all know what I mean, and that's how we get Guam. Yeah, Sandy plus Anchorage plus some dishwasher equals Guam, at least in the art style. And yeah, a lot of people were going nuts over her thighs. I understand, and it does not look like, I cannot tell, but it does not look like she's wearing any pantsuit. Fascinating. Well, how about that? Anyway, so what was USS Guam? So this is her in Alaska class. And just so you want to know, or just in case you don't know, the Alaska class was basically the US's attempt to build a ship that could basically find every cruiser and obliterate it using the classic American response of big guns and lots of guns and more guns and add guns on top of the guns. And that's, you have Alaska in a fast moving, heavily armored package. But okay, so Guam in this case actually ended up serving as a carrier escort for many missions in World War II. When USS Franklin, who was an Essex class, I hope gets added into Azure Lane soon, but you know, let's just focus on this event. Was USS Franklin suffered two very bad kamikaze attacks, and Guam helped escort her safely away. Later, Guam also participated in several shore bombardment missions, and she was mostly, well, she also served as the flagship of more than a couple fleets, actually. So Guam did some work during World War II. She pretty much did not get to use her impressive armament in any major surface engagement like she was planned to, but her armament is what is incredibly astounding, just so you know. So this is Guam's guns, the Alaska guns, and it basically is a shrunk down version of the Iowa class battleship guns. So how good were these guns? Well, according to one report, the Mark 8, which is this gun, was of considerably higher quality than every other gun of its caliber, and it was quote unquote by far the best, most powerful weapon of its caliber ever placed in service. So that is an impressive, well, that's an impressive feat on its own. But it also, the guns themselves were heavy. So it was the heaviest main battery of any cruiser in World War II, and it was as capable as the old battleship guns that they put, I believe these are the 14-inch ones on the Colorado class. Oh no, the 14-inch guns on the Pennsylvania, Nevada, and New York class guns. So, capability of a gun in higher caliber all shrunk down on a very fast firing, powerful, accurate main gun based off the Iowa class's already impressive guns. So I am really happy that we are getting these guns as what looks like the UR of this event. It's said in all but names been so far about that these are the Alaska's guns. So, dang, yeah, this UR gun, I'm guessing, will be extremely good, probably the best large cruiser gun in Azur Lane, and it absolutely will probably be upgraded to plus 13 by many players, including yours truly. Yeah. Dang. It's an impressive gun. I'm looking forward to using this. I am actually really glad we finally got a good main tank. I mean, you know, Anchorage is a good main tank, but like a good main tank that does damage. At least that's what it looks like. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, now let's get on to USS Lafy, which is another... hang on a sec. Let me go to her design here. Lafy 2, I should say, which is another UR we're getting this event. So this is the first ever double UR event that's ever happened in Azur Lane history. And I was also hoping Eagle Union would get an Eagle Union UR destroyer. I did not think we were going to get two in the same event, so this is double what I was hoping for Eagle Union. I know I said earlier, you know, I was hoping they would hold off on the twos until next year, but all is forgiven. All is forgiven. We can work with this. Anyway, so Lafy 2 is an Allen M. Sumner class destroyer, which is one of these heavier gunned destroyers. Yeah, she has 6 5-inch guns carried in 3 dual mounts. Having said that, she has a very interesting history. They pretty much sum it up here. So the ship earned the nickname, quote, the ship that would not die, unquote, for her exploits during the D-Day invasion and the Battle of Okinawa, when she successfully withstood a determined assault by conventional bombers and the most unrelenting kamikaze air attack in history. So, and she survives to this day. She's actually preserved as a museum ship at Patriots Point. So you scroll down to here, and what you'll find is USS Lafy, during the invasion of France on D-Day, she headed for, she was heading to Normandy, and she escorted tugs and landing aircraft and 2 Dutch gunboats. She repelled an assault by torpedo boats by breaking up their formation. These torpedo boats had already damaged the destroyer USS Nelson in the process. But she broke up their formation and saved the ship from further attacks. Later that day, she also rearmed several times in England and then came back to the fight. Anyway, so she goes to Hawaii later and then goes from Pearl Harbor into the fight that is in the Pacific Ocean. She rescued one parachute, or she spotted a parachute while screening for Task Force 38, rescued one badly wounded Japanese pilot who was then transferred to the USS Enterprise during refueling operations the next day. Lafy returned and set course for Leyte Gulf with ships of the Destroyer Squadron 60, or Desron 60. So I'll just scroll down to the kamikaze attack because that is the most notable thing from her service. She did actually, oh, by the way, one thing that it was notable that I don't want to skip over. Late in February, Lafy carried vital intelligence information to Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz at Guam. It does not say what this vital intelligence information is, but Lafy sounds like she was involved in some very deep stuff. Anyway, after bombarding Okinawa, she gets attacked on the 15th of April, 1945, by about 50 planes. Or no, she gets attacked by 13, or let me see. Oh, wait, she gets attacked by a large amount of planes. In total, 13 aircraft were down on the first day, and then the second day, she gets attacked by 50 planes. So they describe this attack, and they say that Basically, when the D3A... Okay, so imagine this. She is getting jumped by planes, and the entire time she is shooting back. Her aft 5-inch gun mount gets struck and knocked out. And at the end of it all, when all is said and done, she actually... Oh, by the way, keep in mind, during this air attack, she actually got a call, put out a call for help, and the escort carrier Shamrock Bay sent Wildcats. And some Marine F4U Corsairs jumped in on this, and a major large dogfight occurred all over this one kamikaze attack that was focused on USS Lafy 2. So that's a lot of this is a whole lot going on. Yeah, so one of the Wildcat pilots that was called in to defend Lafy, Carl Reedman, made a dive into the kamikaze formation, targeted a D3A. His wingman took out the dive bomber, while Reedman lined up behind another D3A, opened fire, and destroyed the enemy aircraft. 10 seconds later, Reedman pursued a Nakajima B-5N torpedo plane, fired and killed the Japanese pilot. Only 5 seconds later, Reedman lined up another B-5N and expended the last of his ammunition. As Reedman returned to his carrier, he made diving passes at kamikazes, forcing some of them to break off their attacks. The other 3 Wildcats destroyed a few aircraft and then interfered with the enemy's attack runs after they exhausted their ammunition, until forced to return to Shamrock Bay when their fuel ran too low to stay. Later, a group of 12 American Vought F-4U Corsair fighters of the United States Marine Corps intercepted the kamikazes. Their actions were of significant help for Lafy that day. So, to frame this, before I continue into that aerial dogfight, you need to understand, while this is happening, this is what's happening to Lafy. So, this is the first day, I believe. No, this is the second day. So, saying all this happens in the same day. At 8:03, an HE D3 Val dive bomber appeared near Lafy for reconnaissance. When the D3 was fired upon, it jettisoned its bomb and left. Soon after, 4 D3As broke formation and made a dive into Lafy. 2 of the D3As came in from the starboard bow. One was shot down by mid-range 40mm guns. The other was down by 20mm. The other 2 D3As attacked from the stern. One D3A shed pieces under fire until its fixed landing gear caught the water. The 4th D3A got close until being shot down immediately after. One of Lafy's gunners destroyed a Yokosuka D4Y, making a strafing approach on the port beam. 10 seconds later, Lafy's main gun battery hit a second D4Y on a bombing approach from the starboard beam. D4Y's bomb detonated in the water, wounding the starboard gunners with shrapnel. At 8:42, Lafy destroyed another D3A approaching the port side. While the bomber did not completely impact the ship and made a glancing blow against the deck before crashing into the sea, also spewing some lethal aviation fuel from its damaged engine. 3 minutes later, another D3A approaching from the port crashed into one of the 40mm mounts of the ship, killing 3 men, destroying 20mm guns and 2 40mm guns, setting the magazine afire. Immediately afterwards, another D3A made a strafing approach from the stern, impacting the aft 5-inch gun mount and disintegrating as its bomb detonated the powder magazine, destroying the gun turret and causing a major fire. Another D3A making a similar approach from astern also impacted the burning gun mount after its left wing caught a fire by Lafy's gunners. At the same time, another D3A. Take a shot every time you hear another D3A, by the way. On a conventional bomb run, approached from astern, dropped its bomb, jamming Lafy's rudder 26 degrees to port and killing several men. Another D3A and another D4Y approached from port and hit Lafy. So, at that same time, the Wildcats are fighting to save Lafy. And these 4 Corsairs show up after the Wildcats are out of ammo. Another D3A approached Lafy. The disabled or the disabled Lafy now from port. A Corsair pursued the kamakazi and destroyed it, forcing it to overshoot the ship. The Corsair lined up behind a Ki-43 Oscar, making a strafing approach on Lafy from starboard. One of Lafy's gunners hit the Oscar, causing it to crash into the ship's mast and fall into the water. The pursuing Corsair also crashed into the ship's radar antenna and fell into the water, but the pilot was later rescued. Another D-3A came from the stern and dropped a bomb, detonating off the port side. The D-3A was later destroyed by a Corsair. The Corsair quickly lined up behind another D-3A and fired, but the bomb from the second D-3A hit and destroyed one of Lafy's 40mm gun mounts, killing all its gunners. The Corsair lined up behind two Oscars, approaching from the bow, took out one and was shot down by the other. The surviving Oscar then shot down by Lafy's gunners. Lafy's main battery fired upon a D-3A approaching from starboard, hitting the plane directly on the nose. The last attacker, a D-4Y, was shot down by a Corsair. Lafy survived despite being badly damaged by, count 'em, 4 bombs and 6 kamikaze crashes and strafing fire that killed 32 and wounded 71. So that's 103 personnel taken out of action on a ship that is of 336. So that's a third of a crew is now knocked out. Assistant Communications Officer Lieutenant Frank Manson asked Captain Becton if he thought they'd have to abandon ship, to which he snapped, "No, I'll never abandon ship as long as a single gun will fire." Becton did not hear a nearby lookout softly say, "And if I can find one man to fire it." And Lafy too, if you think her career stops there, it actually keeps going into the Korean War. Between the Korean War and World War II, she accidentally crashed into a submarine chaser in thick fog, sinking the chaser and managed to rescue all but one of her crew. She participated in Operation Crossroads, and they supposedly radioactively decontaminated Lafy. Yeah, with sandblasting and painting all underwater surfaces and acid washing and partial replacement of saltwater piping and evaporators. So she went through a massive decontamination process before putting her back into service. Upon which she goes to Korea, and she got into a large scuffle with shore-based batteries during the blockade of Wonsan in Korea. And according to the Secretary of the Navy, Dan A. Kimball, he said, although frequently subjected to hostile fire in Wonsan Harbor while embarked in his flagship, the USS Lafy, Captain Conger conducted a series of daring counter-battery duels with the enemy, and was greatly instrumental in the success achieved by his ship by his inspiring leadership, sound judgment, and zealous devotion to duty throughout. Captain Conger contributed materially to the success of the naval blockade of the east coast of Korea and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. So, Lafy went on to serve also in the Cold War, and she did a lot of mainly escort missions and training to hunt submarines before she was decommissioned and turned into a museum ship where you can actually visit her today right here at Patriots Point, and this is her today. So this destroyer did a whole bunch of incredibly, outrageously badass stuff for a tiny little boat. Fascinating. Anyway, moving on to the next ship from this event. That is USS Constellation. So she was actually never built, but if you go to the Lexington class battlecruiser page, which is what she was supposed to be, this is what she roughly would have looked like if she had been completed. Her keel was laid down. She had roughly comparable guns to, I believe, the Colorado class. I believe those were the same guns. Yeah, twin 16-inch guns. Yeah, okay. Anyway, She would have been faster than the Colorado class, much lightly armored, much lighter armored, but she was basically built to match the IJN battlecruiser Congo. So she was built in response to the Congo class battlecruisers. Not bad. If you go down here, you can see she was supposed to have, where's the ship names? Here we go. She was supposed to have quite a few versions of her built, quite a few sisters. Lexington, oh wait, hang on a second. There was Lexington herself, converted into an aircraft carrier. She was going to be the next ship built, Constellation. There was Saratoga, also converted into an aircraft carrier, who we now know as Sarah. Then there was Ranger, canceled, Constitution, canceled, and the United States, which also was canceled. So if you look at her design here, okay, I like this design pretty much. It's like, it does not quite scream Lexington's sister to me, but I was like, it's actually very nice. She has this fairy thing going on. Like she has fairy wings behind her back. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but overall, I do like side visible chest armor here. Yeah. Solid design. I like the eyes too. Very nice. Very nice. Ship girl design. Having said that, moving on to the next ship, San Jacinto, who is an Independence class aircraft carrier. Basically a Cleveland converted into an aircraft carrier. She looks very wholesome, surprisingly. Like extremely wholesome. Out of all the designs, this is the most wholesome one. And she has a very nice golden smile, and the rest of her looks also quite nice. Thick thighs save lives. I firmly believe that. And San Jacinto definitely saved some lives. Fun fact about her, she participated heavily in the Marianas action, in the Marianas turkey shoot. So her air groups got into some major dogfights with the Japanese. And one of the most notable pilots from her air group is President George H.W. Bush, who flew a TBM Avenger. And I will come back to this later in this same video. You'll see why. Basically, and fun fact, Lieutenant George Bush has a very strange history. So, he parachuted into the sea and was rescued by the submarine Finback from capture by cannibalistic Japanese officers stationed on Chichijima. I don't know. Chichijima. I probably did not pronounce that right. Yeah, for his actions in the successful attack, 20-year-old then Bush received the Distinguished Flying Cross. Yeah, it is insane. The more I study World War II, the stranger it tends to get. That is something I have learned. Anyway, San Jacinto inflicted heavy damage to the Japanese carriers and surface combatants off Cape Engano in the Battle of the Philippines. Her fighters furnished air protection over Leyte while her guns shot down 2 planes attempting suicide attacks on the ship. So she was in the thick of the most harrowing air battle in the Pacific, which was the Marianas turkey shoot. I don't know what else to say other than that she basically was inflicting severe amounts of American freedom on the Japanese, let's say. She witnessed the conflagration on the carrier USS Franklin when she was attacked, and she escaped destruction when a kamakazi narrowly missed her. Or no. On March. Okay, I misread this. See. Okay, so she helped basically protect USS Franklin when USS Franklin was under attack. But basically, San Jacinto's bombers torpedoed the Japanese destroyers Kamikaze and Asashimo, part of a naval suicide attack in which the super battleship Yamato was also sunk. So she helped in the sinking of Yamato at the end of it all when it was all said and done. Then returned to the dangerous job of defending against suicide planes, striking at the kamikaze airfields on Kyushu and providing close air support for ground forces. Her planes, like, there's a whole bunch here that's red, but basically, if you want to know the truth about San Jacinto, her planes were basically nonstop, like, dogfighting. The moment she entered into the war, when at the Marianas Turkey Shoot, she was nonstop in the middle of sending her fighters out to dogfight the Japanese throughout most of the war, and then actually throughout the rest of the war, pretty much. And then at the end of it all, she helped sink Yamato, and she had George W. Bush as a TBM Avenger pilot. I mentioned this again because I'm coming back to this later at the end of the video, and you will see why. Okay. This is USS Louisville, who looks strangely like the first American-made, genuine American-made, and maybe it's just the frills that cover her chest armor. So, I would say she actually has the one-eyed, bangs covering one eye thing going. I actually like this design also, not as much as the other designs. San Jacinto, I prefer San Jacinto, Constellation, and of course Guam to her, but she has this butterfly thing going on here. Like, you can see butterflies all over her. Butterfly here, butterfly here, butterfly here. Anyway, USS Louisville was a Northampton class cruiser, and she actually, fun fact, carried $148 million in British gold from Britain to the United States. She delivered her precious cargo and then returned to the Pacific. So once she got to the Pacific, she participated in plenty of escort missions. Mainly, a lot of it had to do with also escorting carriers, but she one time accidentally suffered a friendly fire hit from USS Indianapolis that ricocheted off of her, causing very little damage. She was also struck by a severe kamikaze attack of her own, just so you know. So, Louisville became the first large U.S. ship to enter the Philippine waters since the 12th of December 1941. On October 21st, 1944, when Louisville was bombarding Leyte, she was hit by a kamikaze plane, shrapnel killing one crew member. On the 25th of October 1944, she was in the Battle of Leyte Gulf, participating in the last engagement of a battle line as the Japanese Southern Force attempted to force its way into Leyte Gulf through the Surigao Strait. Admiral Ohlendorf deployed the American battle line across the strait and PT boats and destroyers on either side of the narrow body of water, defeating the Japanese ships as they passed through the strait. Following Leyte, Louisville rejoined the fast carriers, now designated Task Force 38, and participated in pre-invasion strikes against the enemy on Luzon. By the new year, 1945, Louisville was heading towards Lingayen in Gulf when en route on 5th to 6th January, two kamikazes headed for and scored on her. First kamikaze on 5th of January 1945 hit the number 2 main battery 8-inch caliber gun, knocking at, or 8-inch 55 caliber gun, knocking it completely out of commission, killing one man with 17 injured, burning, including Captain Rex Legrande Hicks. The second kamikaze on 6 January 1945 hit the starboard side signal bridge. Rear Admiral, this is huge by the way, Rear Admiral Theodore E. Chandler, commander of Cruiser Division 4, was fatally injured, helping the sailors manhandle the fire hoses to put out the massive flames during the latter attack, and died of his wounds. So normally it's rare for an admiral to actually get their hands dirty. This guy actually did get his hands dirty and died in the process, trying to help his men. So, I mean, that's some dedicated leadership right there. That is, I find that inspiring. Damn. Anyway, later on, 42 crewmen were also killed, and 125 more men were wounded. The bridge was knocked out of commission at the time, and they were forced to switch control to the number 2 battery. Despite extensive damage, the cruiser shelled the beaches and shot down several enemy planes before withdrawing on the 9th of January 1945 and proceeding to Mare Island Navy Yard for repairs. So she completed repairs, and then she returned to provide gunfire support to Okinawa, or on Okinawa, I should say. She also ended up shooting down another kamikaze plane, but she set it ablaze, and it hit Louisville and killed 8 of her sailors and a quad 40mm gun. And see, it bent the number 1 smokestack and cut Louisville's seaplane off and left only the pontoon on the catapult. So, yeah, she got a lot of kamikaze. She was not nearly as much as Lafy too, of course, but she got hit by quite a few kamikaze attacks, and also came out, lost an admiral in the process. Rough deal. But this is her. Very wholesome design, and there's a lot of butterflies, and I'm curious what is the butterfly idea. Anyway, moving on. Actually, wait, I'm gonna do one quick check and just Control F. Okay, no, never mind. It was a worthy idea. Anyway, so moving on to the last ship we get from this event, USS Flasher, who is a lolly. I will not focus too much on that. Anyway, USS Flasher was a Gato-class submarine, and she received the Presidential Unit Citation and 6 battle stars for sinking 21 ships for a total of 100,231 tons of Japanese shipping, making her one of the most successful American submarines of the war. Wow, she was the first ship to be named for the Flasher, which is a fish that looks actually surprisingly tasty. Doesn't that look tasty? I don't know. Anyway. So, a lot of the ships she sank were mainly cargo and troop transport, and she's got the thing is, she also sank a cruiser and quite a few destroyers, including Kishinami and Iwanami. But yeah, these one attack, mainly the attack with Kishinami and Iwanami, is astoundingly ridiculous, mainly because she dives into... I'll just read it for you. This is ridiculous. Okay, so on 4th of December, one of her companions reported a tanker convoy and Flasher set on a converging course. As she made her approach in a heavy downpour, so it's raining, a destroyer suddenly loomed up before her, and Flasher launched her first spread of torpedoes at this escort. The destroyer, Kishinami, was stopped by 2 hits and began listing and smoking heavily. Flasher got a spread of torpedoes away at a tanker before she was forced deep by a second destroyer, which dropped 16 depth charges. Rising to periscope depth, Flasher located the tanker, burning and covered by yet a 3rd destroyer. Speedily reloading, she prepared to sink the destroyer and finish off the tanker, and although almost blinded by rain squalls, she did so with a salvo of 4 torpedoes, 2 which hit the destroyer Iwanami, and 2 of which passed underneath her as planned to hit the tanker Hakomaru. Once more, counterattack forced Flasher down, and when she surfaced, she found no trace of the 2 damaged destroyers. The tanker, blazing away, was still guarded by 3 escorts until abandoned at sunset, when Flasher sank her with 1 torpedo. The 2 destroyers, both found after the war to have been sunk, were Kishinami and Iwanami. Yeah, that's insanely daring. She sank a bunch of ships. It's a lot of ships. That to me is like her most daring raid. But yeah, so this is her, by the way. Very impressive submarine. One of the most successful. So moving on to the special gear we're getting. So from the shop, the event shop, we're going to be getting Flasher. Also, what looks like I'm pretty sure I'm confident in just saying it is the Alaska gun. And then a special TBM Avenger. So remember earlier how I said, USS San Jacinto had H.W. Bush, who became president of the United States, flying his Grumman TBM Avenger. I'm wondering if this has to do with him. Maybe they're going to call it the Presidential Avenger or something. I don't know. But I'm kind of excited for this Avenger. I'm really excited, mainly because I use Independence a lot, and she greatly benefits from an American torpedo bomber. But I was like, we could really use a much better American torpedo bomber, because right now, it's the Sky Pirate doesn't actually match the Wyvern. Even when you upgrade them to both to plus 13, the Wyvern is superior. So I was like, man, if she could only have one that was not quite as good as the Wyvern, but better than the Sky Pirate. I don't know. Maybe this will be it. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, these are the ones we are going to get from the build pool. And Lafy is supposed to be from a separate event, but we're basically going to get her for free. So that is the main gist on these new ships coming in this event. I am most excited actually for USS Lafy 2 for some reason. I'm like, dang. I did not think, and I know I said I was hoping they would hold off on the 2s, but I was always hoping more so for a UR destroyer for the USS faction than I was for a UR large cruiser. So, because I like the destroyer, I like the destroyer's utility, and I was like, if Anchorage can hold out as main tank for long enough, but if we had a good skilled destroyer, I'm excited for whatever skill these are. I'm going to create ship reviews later. As always, I'm excited for. I don't know any other way to say this. This is the event I've been waiting all year for, and it looks like they're going all out for it. And it's Christmas. What's not to be excited about? Anyway, that's all I got for you today, guys. I'd like to wish all you Shikikons a farewell and following seas. As always, take it easy.